Alex Samuelson, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you to be l'invité de l'écho du mercredi. You're the CEO and founder of Marideal. You started some 10 years ago. So happy birthday, happy anniversary.
Thank
what,
you.
What do you say? What?
I mean, most companies don't make it to 10 years, so we're very grateful and blessed to be here today. We launched December 10th, 2013. I feel like today is December 15th, 2023. So that just means I'm getting old.
All of us. Anyway, so what was the idea of Marideal? Even in the name, it's Creolo English.
Of course, and I think that's a beautiful mix. I mean, I think that that's a beautiful concept of what Mauritius is. It's a melting pot, and I think that we've been able to focus on, yeah, I mean, again, let me just take it a step back in terms of your question. Our goal was to create something useful, create something that can affect people's everyday lives, add value to people's everyday lives. It just happened to be that whenever I moved to Mauritius in April 2013. I launched Marideal in December 2013. During that time, I was married, all of these little things, but the idea there was, how will I be able to adapt and adopt myself into Mauritius, into a new country? My wife is Mauritian, and now my children are Mauritian, and so I mean, I'm fully ingrained in the Mauritian culture. But 10 years ago, the idea was, well, what can I do to contribute to society? How can I continue to contribute to my new country and the new populations? How do I continue to add value to everyone? So the goal was to build something useful. I wasn't necessarily sure what it was. I was always fascinated by e-commerce. I always loved the idea. Everything from Amazon to Booking.com to Expedia, all great companies that I've looked up to. And ultimately, again, we were early, which means that, domestic tourism was not really a thing. E-commerce was not really a thing. The internet was not really a thing. So we were very early in terms of coming in 2013. But it's almost, I mean, they always say it's always tough to be early. It's bad to be late. It's better to be on time. But I guess if you have to choose within any of those, it's to be a little early. And I think that's where we were.
Why have you decided to go into domestic tourism? It was not à la mode, as we say.
Yeah, I think the first thing was understanding the competition landscape. Booking.com is a $1 billion company. Expedia is a $1 billion company. So do we want to compete against those companies? No, we would be crushed within 5 minutes. So we really had to find something different. What is our USP? What is our unique selling position? What makes us unique, different than what Booking.com can offer? And I mean, obviously, one of the most amazing things about Mauritius in terms of what differentiates it from different countries is that Mauritius really does provide special rates for their population, for the civilians, for the citizens and residents of Mauritius. So that's where we found a potential avenue for differentiation. I remember moving here with my fiancée at the time, where our wedding was going to be within a few months, and we were deciding where we were going to go for our honeymoon, on the island, because we couldn't afford to leave at the time. And we had to call every hotel individually, and it took me about 5 hours. And from that, after that moment, it was basically very obvious that we had to be able to centralize all this information that's just scattered everywhere.
So if I understand you,
yes,
Alex, so from a problem, from your situation, personal situation, you created something for others.
Yeah, I think solving a problem for yourself first is a very great way to start a business. Because if it's useful for you, it should be useful for others. And ultimately, the easier that you make things, then the more that you have a chance to succeed.
I know the year before it was very difficult for Mauritian to go into hotel because it was reserved for foreign tourists. How was your approach to the directors of these hotels, but now are your customers and happy to be with you?
The barriers to entry were very high. I remember many of the conversations that we had, and many people thought we were crazy. Our first goal was to get one hotel to sign up, because that was a challenge in itself. And I do remember very clearly, it was Marideal Crystals Beach was the very hotel that ever agreed to move ahead with Marideal. Now, obviously, going to those conversations, it was, and those negotiations, it wasn't easy. Obviously, I mean, they don't want to be the first hotel to sign up. They want to be able to follow something that other people are following in. So, in terms of those days, we would go to those conversations saying, oh, well, we've already signed up 10 hotels, whenever we really hadn't signed up anybody, hoping that we would be able to get one. Finally, we got one, which turned into 2, which turned into 3. And then obviously we were able to launch on December 10th with maybe about 10, 15 hotels and maybe 5 or 10 spas. And I remember that launch. I mean, but today, we've been able to break down a lot of these barriers to allow many other companies to follow in our footsteps, which is again, it's a beautiful thing. I'm very happy. People always ask us about competition today. And I think that it's a great thing. I think competition is important. And I'm happy that we were able to be those trailblazers to open up, this domestic tourism concept, the e-commerce concept, the digital age concept for others to follow in our steps.
So you have the hotel, you must have this motion tourist, I will put it in inverted commas. Was it easy to sell these 10 to 15 hotels in December, 10 years ago?
I mean, great question. I mean, ultimately, I think that is starting a business and selling your first deal is exhilarating. It's one of the best feelings that I will ever remember. I also remember the first credit card purchase we ever had. I remember my partner and I at the time, again, just one purchase was one of the most amazing things ever, because it means that we're in business. And we have a chance. Ultimately, again, I think that with our focus on making people's lives easier, it became a domino effect in a way where we've been able to affect people's lives positively. And again, very, very blessed for the population to have chosen us as their booking engine. And yeah, we don't take that for granted.
So you started in December. So it was at the beginning of the festive. Was it easy to work in that period where everyone is looking for a bungalow, for something to go for that 24 December to the 3rd or 4th January?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I have to give, I mean, again, props to my partner back in the day. I mean, we weren't ready to launch in December. I mean, he had the courage to say, no, we're launching now. It wasn't necessarily because we had an opportunity to make sales. It was more out of principle and out of the ability to say, we're live, and then we can build on top. I've learned very clearly that most companies, if you're ready to launch and you launch, you're too late. So it's almost better to launch before you're ready. It's scary to do that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we did not make very many sales in December, but we made some, and that's all we needed. And then obviously they gave us the courage to continue to push.
So for you, some is beautiful?
As an entrepreneur who creates a company for the first time as a 26-year-old, your parents already think you're crazy for moving a world away because of a girl, right? First of all, and I guess many people can relate to that story of that. But I applied to many jobs and I didn't get hired. So I figured it's easier to create a job than to find one. And taking a risk in terms of trying to build this crazy idea of a domestic website. And then it's one of the craziest things ever, but again, it's timing, it's youth, right? And again, I had the opportunity to fail. I was young enough to go down a path that if I failed, I could always fall back on something else.
What would happen if Marideal failed?
Today?
No.
Well, even today.
If it failed at that time,
I mean,
maybe in 2014, 2015.
And again, I think the word failed is a very interesting and potentially invented word. I don't think failure exists. I think that everything is learning. I think every bad thing that happens, you can take it as bad or you can take it as, well, what did I learn from this to make myself stronger? So I think today, and even back then, if Marideal failed,
No answer.
no, I mean, if Marideal failed again, I think that there would have been something else. And ultimately, I would have figured it out.
We quote Sting. I don't know if
I love
you
Sting,
think.
yeah.
So he sings Englishman in New York. So you're an Englishman in Mauritius with a new project in 2015, 2016. How did you feel at that time? There was no COVID. We are going to pause to that COVID thing. How was you living? You were just married, maybe you had kids, and you had to put your energy too into Marideal.
Absolutely. I mean, the good news is I'm an addict. So I mean, the point is I've been living and breathing Marideal since basically July 2013. So every father or a husband will say that they work to make sure that their families have good lives and good futures, etc. I'm under the very, very clear realization that I would have done it with or without children, or with or without a wife to support. Because again, I want to be able to prove to myself, I want to be able to prove that I am capable of starting a business that can be successful in a way.
You had that entrepreneur thing in your head when
Yeah.
you came to Mauritius. I'm leaving England, London, and the snow, and you come in a shiny island, rainy sometimes, but that was your vision to create something for you.
I've always, yeah. I mean, I studied international business and finance in university.
Okay.
I knew that, and I did my master's, I did my MBA. I had to create a business. I create a business plan for this as my thesis. In that business plan, I created an e-commerce company. So I always knew that I wanted to create something around e-commerce, around technology, around the digital future that I knew was on its way. And I was always fascinated about what I didn't know, because I was entering a tech space where I had no background. But again, it's just about being very, very passionate about learning, and then listening to the right people. I think that's the one thing about an entrepreneur is you have to be very, very careful of who you listen to. And if you can find the role models and the people that you look up to, listen to those guys, because everyone else is giving you advice based on what they believe and their own past. So I mean, I think that is one of the there's no rule to anything. There's no rule on how to raise a child. There's no rule on going to university. I grew up saying you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. As you grow up, you realize, well, it's advice and what worked for them. And you always have to find out what works for you and your future. So I think that between coming where I'm from, again, I'm not from England. I'm actually from the United States.
Okay.
My father's from California and my mother's from Colombia. So I'm a mix.
A mix.
And now I'm in a place that is mixed, and I could not feel more at home. Yeah.
Was it easy to put everything that you learn in the Mauritian context? California is California, Colombia is Colombia, Mauritius is Mauritius.
Yeah.
Was it easy to put everything that you learn, your business plan, your SWOTs, whatsoever there is working in studies, in Marideal?
I mean, nothing in creating a business is easy. In fact, most of it is painful. And I think that there is one commonality across countries, and it's the human being. Everyone has the same 7 emotions. Everyone, in my opinion, is lazy. And I don't mean that in terms of lazy, in terms of I don't want to do anything, but again, whenever it comes to booking or buying something, inherently, I believe, and where I've been throughout my travels, people would rather make a booking right here than walk into a travel agency, just because I save time. Time is the only resource that you'll never get back. Time is the only thing that is escaping us. Everything else can be regenerated. Everything else can come around. So Yeah, I mean, I think that entering a new country and a new culture is something that I've always had inside of me in a way where I was never from America. I was never from Colombia. I mean, if you look at me, I could not look more American and I could not look less Colombian. But being in America, I've always been Colombian at heart. And then being in Colombia, I am not Colombian, I'm American. So no matter where I've been, I've never been, blended in a way. I've always been different in a way. So I think that, being different is a beautiful thing. You see different perspectives, you see different angles. And then obviously whenever I finished university, I moved to Spain. And then that's where I met my future wife. So I've been traveling and having to adapt to different cultures pretty much my entire life, which made it, I'm not going to say easy to adapt to Mauritius. The reason that it was easy to adapt to Mauritius is because of the Mauritian people. I mean, they're one of the greatest people. Again, everybody is cooler than the person next to them. So I think everyone is just very, very open. Everyone has a big heart. And it's very, very obvious, in Mauritius. And then 10 years later, I'm still here and I couldn't be happier.
Have you blended into Mauritius?
Yeah, I mean, again, I could not be more blended.
You can say, I am
Alex
Samuelson is a Mauritian.
Dans mon cœur, je pense, je suis mauricien. Plus que...
Mais dans la tête.
Ouais.
In the head.
Ouais,
le cœur, c'est le cœur, but the head.
I mean, logically, I know that I will never have my wife's past. Meaning, I'm very, very jealous of the Mauritian population and my wife and all her friends because they've known each other since they were this big, since they were babies. Those type of relationships are incredible. From the time they're born to today, they've known each other. I don't have anything like that other than my brother and my sister and my parents and my cousins, let's say. I am a world away from anyone that I've ever known throughout my life. So again, if it wasn't for my wife, her friends, the group, the community, I would feel very alone. But and ultimately, again, being an entrepreneur is a lonely thing because no one understands the pain that you're going through. But again, it's the love of every individual that you meet that fills you and keeps you motivated.
So 2020 came in March. We were closed down. Hotels were literally closed. How do you manage these 4 months that everyone was at home? We were going outside on alphabetical order. We had to work.
Yeah, I mean, we forget because you say 3 or 4 months. We didn't know that in March.
Yeah.
In fact, in March, we thought we were all going to die, right? Like, we're all going to die. We don't know when business is coming back. I have a lot of payroll to go out and no rooms to sell. So obviously, it was a very, very hard point. I mean, I think a lot of people enjoyed their COVID lockdown time. I think that for me, it was one of the hardest moments of my life, where it's easy to feel sorry for yourself. And, the woe is me perspective is something that, many people can understand. But, I allowed myself to feel bad for a day, 24 hours. But on the second day, I stood back up and then tried to figure out different things that we could do. There's always opportunity in crisis. And our challenge was to ensure that if, number one, this ever happened, like we had big questions, right? How do I make money without making any sales? How do I double the value of my company without making any sales? These are impossible things to achieve. But, a lot of things come into realization, things that you wouldn't have been able to see while everything is happening and everything's open. You were able to take a step back and realize, okay, well, if I stop doing this, then I could do this. And if I could do this, then we can do this. So one of the answers that we had in terms of, okay, how do we double the value of the company without making any sales was data. Well, we have hundreds of thousands of data points just floating around. How do we put it and start harnessing it? How do we start getting information from it? How do we start putting it in a funnel and then making sure that this goes there, this goes there, this goes there? And ultimately that brought ideas to, okay, well, I need to hire a CTO. I need to hire a data scientist. I need to be able to build an extranet so that our partners can start seeing their own data and then potentially benchmark against similar things to them. So that was our ideas in COVID 1. By the end of COVID 2, all of this stuff was launched. And I think that, yeah, again, it was, again, everyone will say, oh, this is a blessing because the country was locked down. You know, so you had all the rooms available, which is true for 3 months post-COVID. So again, making a year in 8 months or 7 months is not easy, and we were able to do that. But again, we were. You know.
And then came the idea, I think, the Minister of Tourism, Steven Obrigado, met everyone and then said, okay, hotels are open, but for local tourists. So what was your strategy back then? We were not accepted. The airport was still closed to 1st of October of 2021. So.
But you, again, I remember that day clearly, and God bless him for that. But I remember that day just because, again, it was not expected. I remember very clearly because, again, you think that the non-business is going to last forever, or 6 months or 8 months. COVID 1 was only 3 months. COVID 2 was 5 months. Going into COVID 2, we're like, okay, it's going to be 3 months or less. It ended up being longer. So, I mean, the point being is, we did have the blessing where we were basically the only e-commerce company available, you know, in terms of domestic booking, and every hotel had full availability, and we had all that. We had it all. So yeah, we finally had a few great months, and those months still are some of our best in our history, in terms of sales, in terms of customer satisfaction, in terms of growth. So yeah, I mean, what I can tell you very clearly is that everyone believes that e-commerce took off during COVID, and I can tell you that more and more people were adapting and accepting the concept of e-commerce. However, it was still only 12% of the population that had made an e-commerce purchase, which is tiny. That 12%, just try to wrap your head around that. From even Spain, which is still not necessarily a first world country, 40% of the population purchases through e-commerce. In the United States, it's at like 65%. You know what I mean? So Mauritius, even today, is still around 12 to 14%.
This is a constant?
Yeah, well, there was 12% maybe 2 years ago. So I'm assuming by this point it might be 14% or 15%. So I mean, our goal as a company, and whenever we launched in 2013, it was only 4%. So, you know, it's tripled in 10 years, let's say.
Is it a good rate? Multiply by 3 for
I mean,
10 years?
But yes, I mean, technically that is a good rate. But if you look at the actual number versus percentage versus population, it's still low, right? So again, I think that there's still a lot of growth in terms of the local community, in terms of feeling comfortable and confident to buy online and know that what you purchase is what you get. I think that's what has made Marideal successful is, at first people were afraid to buy online until they realized that it worked. They're like, I actually purchased this 2-hour massage and at a discount, and I went and I actually got what I paid for it in great value.
Was it easy to convince your customers, the one buying their Marideal in a hotel, to respect that sanitary measures? I've seen videos, I've seen everything was happy, but there was some constraints. Was it easy for you you have to put something, you have to be like that, you have to follow all instructions, because each hotel had his way of doing things?
Yeah, I think, I mean, everyone could have done a little better in terms of communication. I think that, I think even today, in terms of what Marideal is, I think we're a 5 or 6 out of 10. You know, there's still so much growth and betterment that we can do regarding customer service and everything like that. I think that time was a crazy one because not everyone understood what it was. So I believe that, no, easy, no. Specifically, again, because then we were dealing with hotels and the tourism authority and this and that and
Yes,
and again and COVID we still don't know, and then there's the vaccine problem. Okay, well, are there vaccines? Are we going to get them? Like, so again, regarding that, it was a mess, to be honest, but I was lucky to have a great team, and I was, again, Marideal is the community. It's not any one individual. It's all of us. You know, at the end of the day, you know, every Mauritian has contributed to what Marideal is today, and what the domestic hotel industry is today, and I think that's a beautiful thing as well.
Our frontiers were open on 1st of October 2021. Was it easy to save a place? Because now the tourists who are coming from France, our main markets, was it easy to sell these rooms?
People forget that whenever the hotels were closed, or whenever the border was closed, many hotels were still closed. So it's not that every hotel was open the moment, you know, it was declared to open hotels for domestic markets. So most hotels were still closed. The moment the borders reopened, the hotels reopened. And that was clearly better for us than anything else, right? For me, I need the hotels to be successful, and I don't necessarily care if it's through domestic tourism, but if the hotels are full, they're able to hire people and they're able to continue to keep 100% of their rooms open. And if that's the case, then there'll always be rooms available for Marideal. Now, it's the opposite that is a danger. If the hotel is empty, then they can't pay staff. If they can't pay staff, that staff doesn't have a job. And if they don't have a job, then they're home. And if they're home, then they can't, and they're not making a salary, then they can't go and buy that food that they need or those medicines that they require. So for the community, and the health of the community and the growth of the community and the sustainability of Mauritius in general, the opening of the borders was one of the most beautiful moments of Mauritius in that moment, and of Marideal. Even though we may have less sales, it was an important long-term element for us, for everything to be reopened and everyone to be back in business.
We are already back on track to figures before 2019 on the tourism sector. How do you feel that Mauritius has been able to get back on his feet?
Yeah, I think that there's still many challenges. You know, I think that the hotel industry has been able to get back on their feet. I think that they've been able to increase prices. I think that they've been able to, you know, maximize their potential. I do believe, however, that they're still having issues. A lot of hotels still are not opening 100% of their rooms. And I think that's an important thing. I think that out of 100% of the available rooms they have available to sell, only 80% are actually being put to sale. Now, why? And now the hotels will say, well, it's because of lack of staffing, right? They don't have the staff available to open up all the rooms. So our numbers of inbound tourism are coming back to where it was in 2019, which is a great thing, but we have much less rooms available to sell because there's only 80% of the available, of the rooms that are available for sale, number one, and then staff, and then pricing. So I do believe that hotels have found profitability going back to their kind of previous model, where again, it's more about maximizing their potential, which is, again, that's what business is about. So again, we're not asking hotels to give Marideal or the domestic market 20% of their rooms to do this, because they will lose in the long term. I understand the hotel's perspective. If a Mauritian person will stay 1.5 nights in a hotel room, while an international person will spend 5.5 nights. 5.5 nights, I make more money, and I don't have to turn around that room so often. So again, these are the challenges that everyone's facing post-COVID. You know, every hotel has most hotels have new management, whether it's new general managers or new sales and marketing. So Marideal has to prove themselves all over again to you know what I mean? So again, many companies and people have seen the power of Marideal and what we are capable of doing. A lot of the people who are now in control of many of these hotels, you know, are maybe new or are foreigners as well, that don't know what Marideal can do in terms of contribution. And ultimately, you know, I understand them. They need to be responsible for their own bottom line. Their goal is to try to sell as many bookings directly to the local population instead of going through third-party suppliers such as Marideal. However, I think what they're going to find out and what they're finding out is consumer behavior is very, very obvious. Consumers basically will go to one marketplace and then decide where to buy instead of going to 20 or 30 different websites to then decide what to buy. So that's kind of the difference.
Was it easy to explain once again, Marideal to that new? I know there were changes, big changes into hotels. Yeah. Was it easy to re-explain one again? You are going to explain?
No. Again, all of this stuff is very hard and very complicated because you need to be able to gain the trust of people who have been told or that they need to be able to succeed without you, in a way. But I do believe that what we've been able to achieve over the last 6 months is, again, gain the confidence and the trust of the hotel industry because, again, we have been able to prove that if you give me availability in November, we'll sell it. Now, a lot of hotels, like the 5-star hotels, were like, well, the population won't be able to pay 18 to 25,000 rupees a night. And I said, well, let's give them a chance. Give me 10 rooms and let's see if it sells. I start boosting and marketing and pushing through our social media. Within 24 hours, I sold all 10 rooms. So again, what that means is that the population is able to buy. What we need is availability. And if we have rooms to sell, then people will be able to buy them. But again, our goal is not to have full availability. Our goal and our job is to support the hotel with what they need. So if they don't need us because they're selling so much directly, great. You know, I'm so happy for that.
So there is a niche market in Mauritius for 5-star hotels?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the only reason that Marideal is successful is because there's a very, very big niche market for 4- and 5-star hotels. Because again, 4-star and 5-star hotels, I mean, again, there's very, very important differences, but similarities at the same time. So there could be a 4-star hotel that's more expensive than a 5-star hotel.
So come back in 2023, you have 10 years now, little kid or big kid. Mm-hmm. Why have you chosen Joli Souvenir? Souvenir is the past, isn't it?
It's a great, yes. I mean, I think there's two beautiful things. Number one, with our 10 years, we've rebranded our logo. We have a new logo. Marideal logo. This is the 4th iteration in 10 years of our logo. And the concept, and it's kind of it's a symbol of change for what Marideal is going to be able to do over the next 10 years, but also looking back in terms of not forgetting where we've been over the last 10 years. So the past 10 years of a Joli Souvenir, while the new logo is a symbol for what's to come, and that there is change coming, and we're very excited about that.
What is your Joli Souvenir of Marideal? One which is every day in your head, you go everywhere. What's your souvenir of Marideal? 10 years ago.
I mean, again, over the last 10 years, my plus joli souvenir is the Marideal. I call them Maridealers, meaning people who have been with me, worked with me over the last 10 years. Probably over 1,000 different people have worked at Marideal during that time. And there's nothing more beautiful than, you know, bringing in someone young, right out of school or in school, and then seeing them grow as a professional, and then being able to provide them an opportunity for advancement, whether with me or in another place where, you know, I can't afford them now, right? You know, there's nothing more beautiful than that. Individual growth, really watching people from the very first employee that we ever had to the last one we just hired. Marideal would not be where we are without all of those people.
So people is very important in a company, enterprise, for Marideal too?
Humans are the most important thing in life. And if you can touch and change one person's path, then I think that is then I've achieved my reason for being on this earth. I'm very, very humbled by the amount of people that we've been able to teach. You know, we take education very seriously in terms of growth as well, because everyone comes in as a, they all come in with their own past and their own mental map and what they've been taught and what they've been trained and what they've learned in school. Very few people have told them that they can accomplish anything. Very few people have told them, well, what do you want? I don't know. I've never been asked that. I've always been told what to do. So, I mean, our responsibility as a company is to help people think for themselves. And if everyone can leave, come to Marideal, learn, and leave to have a unique thought, how to think critically, thinking for themselves, then that is the life lesson, right? You now are capable of having your own thoughts without having to be told what to think. And I think that, I mean, again, this is an immersion problem. It's a human problem. It's everywhere. It's America. It's Colombia. It's South America. It's Europe. People do not know how to think for themselves in general, and it's easy to be manipulated in one way or another, in any way, shape, or form, if you don't have unique thoughts. So you need to be able to think, ask why. You know, it's like Socrates. So why? You know, just like that, my 2-year-old who asks why for everything. Yeah. You know, and I think that question is an important one. Why do I do this? If I do this, and ultimately, many people will say, I will ask an employee, why do you do this? And they say, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Yes.
That is the one answer that I cannot stand. Like anyone who tells me that, like, you know, that's my pet peeve, I think the word is. Pet peeve is the thing that makes my skin crawl. I ask you why you do this, and your only response is, well, that's the way it's always been done. Well, says who? And is that the best way? Is that the most efficient way? If you could take a step back and do it differently, would you do it differently? And so this is how we have to train our team and the individuals, because at the end of the day, there's no guarantee that they will be with me forever. So if they are with me for a short period of time or a long period of time, if I can teach them to think for themselves, they'll be fine.
Can I say that Marideal is a school, university to change from the mold type to the critical thinking type?
Absolutely. I think that, I mean, our job is to guess where the world is going and to challenge the status quo. This is who we are. People use the word disruptor. I don't believe that. I believe that our job is to try to guess where the world is going and to challenge the status quo. So again, what is the internet going to look like in the next 10 years? What is booking going to change into? Because Booking.com, Expedia, these systems have always been done, it's always equal. Booking has always been done the same way. So what is the future of that? Is there any type of social element that can be mixed into booking? Is there, you know, so I think that the one main point of what Marideal offers that many companies don't is a very diverse leadership. My background coming from America, you know, being born and raised there through that capitalistic mindset, which again, I moved away, right? I finished university and I left because I wanted to be able to explore the world and what it had. So, and then between our COO, Sandrine, everyone that we have is, I mean, incredibly intelligent first, is able to think for themselves second, is selfless, meaning that we care more about you and your well-being than ourselves. And I think that that's what Marideal does offer. And I think that that's why, you know, people are wanting to come and wanting to stay with us.
So what are the deals that you're offering right now? Are special 10 years deals that you have cooked
up?
Cooked up?
Yeah, I mean, Marideal always, every single day you go on Marideal, there are new deals. We have an enormous team. I think we have 75 people today, and maybe 5 more people starting in January. So we have a big team dedicated to going around the island to negotiate and to get more deals and more value for the merchant population. So yeah, any day that you go on Marideal, there's great value available. So yeah, I mean, today, go on Marideal. The challenge is availability. So again, if you see something that is available and you wait till tomorrow to make the decision, there's a very high probability that it will no longer be available. So I think that is one thing that the population and the people don't really understand fully yet is the risk of waiting. Meaning, the risk of waiting is you're not sure that you want to go to the hotel, but whenever you do decide, it's now too late. You have the right to be upset by that. Now, hopefully, the next time that you see an availability, you will buy it now before it's too late. And I think that that's the challenge, is that everyone in the world is trying to buy the same rooms that are available. And if right now there is a room available, it might not be available in the next 5 minutes.
You talk about your big competitor, international competitor. Are you working on your website to give better connectivity, better smart things on Marideal in the month or years coming? Yeah,
I mean, I think that that's the beauty of the new logo. What Marideal was is un joli souvenir, and then what Marideal will be. And we've brought in some extraordinary engineers to help us build what the future will be for Marideal. Marideal has always been focused on supporting small and medium-sized businesses locally here to have a digital footprint, to be visible online, to understand what the digital age is. The future of Marideal is to be able to also provide predictive analytics elements, whether it's AI, through AI or other. But more importantly, it's to be able to help these travel agencies or tour operators, that potentially don't understand, or it's very, very difficult to build a website with a front end, a back end, and systems overall. So again, if we are able to provide, we call it platform as a service. If we are able to provide platforms for other companies locally and internationally, we do believe that that's going to be the next iteration. Our goal for Marideal is to continue to expand our marketplace as well within the Indian Ocean countries and Africa. I hope by the end of next year, the Mauritian population will be able to find, packages for Cape Town, packages for Reunion, packages for, for Kenya or safaris, etc. Whether it's France, Dubai, etc. Like, I want to be able to do travel differently, and I believe that we have an opportunity to do what we did for hotels, meaning put everything in one place for people to compare and contrast, for the travel industry as well. So that's what we're working on now. Simultaneously, as you said, we are also working on our ability to directly connect to every hotel, and I think that within the next 6 to 8 months that will be available. So the good news is, in the next year, by the time we have our second conversation, on the 11th anniversary of Marideal, we're going to be a very, very different company, and I'm very, very excited about
it. It's a new adventure if you're going to go outside in the region and then on the African and even the European continent.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to be able to focus on Mauritius as a destination, because this is my focus, is the local population, the local communities, the local, how do I continue to add, foreign currency here? How do I continue to do this? And I think all of this stuff is to continue to increase the profile of Mauritius as a destination, and so people can really, because again, I mean, everyone is doing such a great job, from the tourism authority to every minister that's around is doing their best to continue to focus, and I'm just doing my role in that part.
What is the part of social media? Now it's TikTok. Now Facebook is gone, nearly gone. Everything I've seen, small agencies like your competitors selling on TikTok.
Well, they're not selling on TikTok, but yeah, they're on TikTok.
And for hotels, it's easier now to put a page on Facebook than to go into building a website, going through all this process that takes 6 months. So
building a website takes much longer than 6 months. But yes, we're still 10 years in and we're still building. So it's a never-ending process. But you're absolutely right. I think social media is a channel to communicate to your followers and your following. Now the question becomes is, what type of value are you adding to these people's lives. Now, is it value or is it not value, right?
Experience.
Yeah, so I mean, if I post something, will people see this as interesting, right? If it's not, then it's not valuable. If if it's just something, a post to post, with no concept or importance behind it, then there's no value behind it. So you're right, TikTok is blowing up. I had to get a TikTok account, so I didn't get behind. And Marideal has been focusing on TikTok, within the last 6 months, and we're at 17,000 followers already, which is good. It's good. It's good over 6 months. But I'm looking forward to see what we're going to be able to do over the next year. Our goal, hopefully, is to get to 100,000 by end of next year, and ultimately, providing high quality branded content is what will allow us to do that.
Short videos?
Short videos. So I don't know if you saw, sorry, I can't say the word. It's the hardest word in the French or Mauritian language, the micro-trottoir.
Micro-trottoir.
I can't say that. Like, I can try all that. The micro-trottoir. So we did a micro-trottoir with Big Frankie, where we went around Port Louis and did all the stuff. And it was our first attempt to create one of these viral type videos. And it was a great experience, and we're going to continue to do these, and I think that's the difference. I bet you that within the next few months you'll see one of our competitors do the same thing, because
they are doing.
Yeah, no, but they haven't done a micro. I can't say that. I can't say the word. I can't say the word. But I can guarantee. I mean, and I think that's the beautiful thing is we will do something, and you will see them do it next, right? We will open up an agency, they will do that next. We will do a commercial like this, we'll put a new filter element on our website. They'll all have it tomorrow. So I mean, they're all looking up to us, which is a great thing, but we look up to companies like the Airbnbs and the Booking.coms, etc., for inspiration, and Amazon.
We have come to the end of this interview, Alex. What can I wish you for 2024? We are nearly 3 weeks from 2024 for you and Marideal.
Wow, no one's ever asked me that. I don't know how to respond to that, honestly. What can you wish me?
Marideal? Lots of joli souvenirs?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I have a clear plan. I hope, what you can wish me is that what I have planned comes to fruition. That's what you can wish me, that it works out.
Alex Samuelson, thank you very much. Happy birthday, and all the best for Christmas, for your kids, your family.
Thank you very much. You too.
In Mauritius, in America, in Colombia, and all the best.
Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you very much.